What's going on, guys? Jose here. Now today, wind's blowing like hell. Got a brand new microphone. I wanted to test that out. You guys shouldn't be hearing any of the wind. I get asked a lot of questions, about what kind of lure did you use, when did you use it, how did you use it, where did you use it, and questions on Discord, questions on Instagram. By the way, if you guys want to engage in conversation and ask me questions and be up to date with what's going on with the videos, the fishing and whatnot before the videos come out too, make sure you join the Discord. The link should be popping up right here. So instead of telling people what lures to use, I will show you how to make the best decision so that you can go out and pick your own lures for yourself, right? I will teach you. In this video, I am aiming to explain how every lure works, and so that what you need to know to pick out the best lure for every situation. So let's get right into it. This video is targeted for beginning new anglers who are new to artificial fishing in saltwater, and say, you know what? I see all these cool, crazy lures sitting out here, but I don't know which one to use. I don't know which one's best in what situation, right? I don't understand it. It's so confusing to me. I'm just gonna throw a live bait. Hold on, calm down. That's what I'm here for today. I'm gonna give a quick explanation of some of the main types of lures used in saltwater fishing. I don't have all of them. I don't use all of them, but I have a good amount. And if I'm not going to go over little niche things like gotcha plugs, trolling lures. I'm not going to go over trolling lures today. If you guys want a video on trolling lures, leave a comment down below and I will get to it in another video, definitely for sure. So we're going to give a rundown on all of the types of lures, right? I'm going to say what kind of action they use, how to retrieve them, and ideally what situations, what locations they are best suited for. So those couple things right there. So keep it nice, succinct, and moving along, otherwise I'll sit here and ramble. So first we have topwaters. So topwaters are a pretty diverse group, but primarily consist of two types of lures. You have walk the dog, surface lures, and you have poppers. Now, I don't really use a lot of poppers, so I don't have any good examples of poppers, but a lot of guys in the Pacific use poppers for GT, big over there. I can give a little explanation, but I'm gonna stick right now to walk the dog spook-like lures, which we got right here, and plenty of other ones. This is the Ozuri walk the dog. They are categorized by a nice side-to-side twitching action. So these sit on the surface of the water and you twitch them and they move side to side, just back and forth like that, right? Those lures are best used in situations where you see the fish actively feeding on the surface, right? They are not very good in rough weather because they heavily rely on you being able to twitch the rod effectively and really impart that motion to the lure. So they're good also when you're close to the surface of the water. So like when you're on land, on a boat, you can be close to the surface of the water, right? Because it's all a horizontal motion. So quick rundown, very good when busting on the surface. Baits are busting on the surface. Very heavy side-to-side action, back and forth like that. The key with them, you want a rhythm to them. You want a nice, consistent twitch, or a twitch, or a very slow twitch. They're very common in bass fishing, and they're very good in saltwater fishing. So they're also very terrible to use off of piers and off of vertical structure. Can't forget that. So that's a quick little rundown on topwaters, spook-like baits, side to side, walk the dog kind of lures. Poppers are very good in all situations. You can use them on the pier, on vertical structure. You can use them close to the land, because you just have to twitch it really hard and then let it rest. Pull it really hard and rest. Again, those are very similar to spooks in that they work really well when the fish are busting and feeding on the surface. Next, we have swim baits. So, swim baits are one of the most diverse, or honestly, one of the most versatile lures on the planet. You can use them in any situation, right? You can use them when the fish are feeding on the surface, when they're sitting on the bottom, in the middle of the water column. You can use them off of vertical structures like piers. You can use them on the beach, on shore, on the boat. And they come in a lot of different ways, but primarily it's, you have a body with a paddle tail. So swim baits are often called paddle tails because they have this defined soft plastic blunt edge tail, and that they use to have a nice side to side motion like this, pulsating motion. Now, you can buy them pre-made in one whole piece like this one, or you can buy them as a swim bait body and have separate bodies and jigs. So a lot of times you can buy just a general body and put whatever jig head you want on it. Sometimes there's matching ones. It all depends on which type of one you want to use, and they're all different sizes. This is 8 inches, this is like 3 inches. So all different shapes, sizes, well, general shape, all different sizes and colors. So the cool thing about swim baits is that you can fish them at varying depths, you can fish them at varying speeds. Because of that, they can be used anywhere. So typically you want to fish these at like a slow to medium pace, and really let this tail pulsate back and forth, back and forth. Let that wiggle through the water looking like a normal fish that's just comfortably cruising and chilling right through the strike zone. With swim baits, you are trying to cover as much ground as you can. You're trying to cover as much water as you can by casting it a mile and just reeling it slowly straight through, and using this tail as kind of like almost like a radar. Like it pulses and makes a noise and vibrations that the fish can key in on from far away. So these are great for exploratory casts where you don't really know what's there, you don't know what could be sitting around. Throw out a swim bait, just reel it slow, straight through, let it kind of do its thing, and if you get hit, maybe change things up. You never know. But these are always a good lure to start with when exploring a new area. Those are swim baits. So now we're going to go into twitch baits. Twitch baits are arguably my favorite type of lure to use because they're a heavy finesse lure. So things like a rigged super fluke, things like suspending twitch baits. These things are very fun to use. Take a lot of skill because they are all finesse. You are trying to get a nice flutter, a nice twitching action inside the strike zone. So unlike swim baits, which are great for casting and exploring a whole new area, you really want to use a twitch bait in a defined location. These things are great at doing a nice twitch flutter, not much vertical action. It's all about the twitch pause and the flutter. These things always get hit on the pause. So these are really, really good in little niche pockets, right? So twitch baits are kind of poor to use in vertical structure because they have a heavy horizontal action, and most of the vertical action comes from the flutter on the pause, right? So you don't want that vertical difference from the pier or jetty to interfere with the motion of the twitch bait. So twitch baits are really, really good when you're on the boat, when you're on land, close to the surface of the water. They're very bad on the jetty, pier, whatever. Again, very, very good at getting a reactionary bite. These things are great for reactionary bites. Where you're sitting and you're fluttering this thing in front of a fish's face, has a moment to think about it, it flutters, boom, they whack it. Again, those are my favorite lures because you can use them on light tackle. You can really work a little pocket and really get a sick, aggressive, reactionary bite. Next, we have plugs. So plugs typically are long, cylindrical, lipped lures like this. and they have varying size lips. This one's a small lip. You can get ones that are like this big and go dive deep like 20 feet. So these things, you cast them out or troll them, and you reel them in pretty fast. They have an aggressive, tight side-to-side wobble like that. And they're similar to swim baits in that you can just reel them straight in, but they're faster, they're more aggressive. Usually these will elicit bites from more aggressive, fast, energetic fish, whereas swim baits usually a little more slower, lethargic, not really lethargic, but just slower, more chilled out kind of target. So these are very good because you can reel these things straight in. These are very good everywhere, from vertical structures like the pier, jetty, from the boat, from land, wherever. You can cast these out, reel them straight in pretty fast, pretty aggressive. These are very good when fish are busting on the surface and you want to cast a lure that's maybe within, just subsurface, a few feet down, within like 2 or 3 feet of the surface, right? These things are great, and especially if those fish are fast, aggressive fish like bonita, bluefish, mackerel. Very good overall lure, but has its own place. Next, we have probably the most versatile lure type in the world, and that's jigs. I personally don't use a lot of jigs, but they're very common all over the world. Many types of jigs. You got vertical jigs, deep drop jigs, you got bucktail jigs, you got swimming jigs. Here is one of my personal favorites, is a little white bucktail jig. These things are typically categorized in terms of action by a heavy vertical rod action. So when you're fishing a jig like this, right, you want heavy pop, pop, pop. You really want this rod tip to be moving vertically. You don't want horizontal motion like you do for a twitch bait or a topwater, right? You really want that pop, 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 the vertical motion as opposed to side. So jigs can be used anywhere, right? They can be used off the pier, off the bridge, etc. So last but not least are spoons. So again, I don't really use a lot of spoons. Again, this one right here is old, rusty. I haven't used it much, frankly, but this one right here is a little gold Castmaster spoon. I've used this a good bit for Spanish mackerel. These things are great. They can cast a mile because they're solid metal. They imitate injured bait fish that's just floating around, shining around, and you can fish them with a twitching motion. You can fish them reeling them straight in. You can fish them with a jigging motion. You can fish these things a variety of different ways. They're very simple. They're very effective. Catch a lot of fish, especially when the fish are keyed in on that flash. Because of the range of motions you can fish them with, you can fish these things off the pier, bridge, boat, land, anywhere you want. But they imitate a fluttering, shining bait fish. So now we're going to get into how to pick out which lure you want to use in each situation, right? So the first step to picking your ideal lure is to say, what am I trying to imitate, right? The purpose of an artificial lure is to imitate a bait fish that is being targeted by the fish you are trying to catch. So you want to say, okay, what am I have to imitate here? Now, typically want to imitate a lot of forage fish, such as ballyhoo, menhaden, bunker, pilchards, whitebait, whatever it is that you're trying to imitate. That's the first step that you have to complete. You have to say, what am I trying to imitate, right? You identify the bait fish that you are imitating and replicating. Next, you want to say, okay, I have identified the bait fish I'm imitating. I need to imitate the shape and profile of that bait fish. So, for example, fish like ballyhoo are long, slender fish. So typically something like this a plug works very well at imitating them because it has that long, slender shape, right? A twitch bait like this, yeah, it may seem like it's a long, slender shape, but this is more of a deeper bodied shape, and it really wouldn't imitate too well, and it's also not the same size, right? This is smaller than most ballyhoo typically. And you wouldn't use a shrimp lure when you're imitating ballyhoo. That's just dumb. You may also think, hey, that topwater has a long, slender profile, right? This could imitate a ballyhoo. Maybe. We'll get into that later. So we've identified the profile that we have to match. Now we have to match the color. So you could see here, I personally use a lot of white lures. That's because a lot of the bait fish here are white. Plain and simple. White, flashy, shiny bait fish. And the water is also very clear. So when the water is clear and the fish are white and shiny, white is a great color. Typically you want to match the color of the bait fish or forage species that you're imitating, right? In freshwater, they imitate crawfish. So they use, reds and browns and stuff like that. That look exactly like a crawfish, and that makes sense to me. It's not what I do, but it makes sense. And also water clarity has a big impact on the color that you should use. So I mentioned that we have very clear water here. Some areas, the water is very dirty, and white may not be the best choice in that dirty water, even though the bait fish look white. Now sometimes you want to use gold, you want to use black and purple, you want to use something like a neon color, something like lime green or electric chicken, pink, yellow, whatever. That is when you need to start try doing some trial and error and say, okay, what color works best for me in these conditions here? I can't tell you that. I'm just giving you the steps to lead you to make that decision. So then the third and arguably most important thing you have to consider is, where am I going to be fishing and how am I going to be fishing? Am I going to be fishing off the pier? Am I going to be fishing in calm weather, rough weather? What are the conditions that are going to impact the way I fish my lure? Let me give some examples, because that's a loaded question, right? Let's do something that I'm not familiar with. So let's say we are fishing, what's a good example? Let's try stripers in the Northeast, right? Let's say it's fall. There's a lot of menhaden, a lot of bait out there right now. From what I hear, I've never been there. A lot of people like to surf cast for stripers off the beach. So we're considering the beach. Say it's kind of rough because it's winter, it's fall, northeast front. Let's say there's 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, doing breaking surf. We're on the beach. Okay. And we know that they're eating on menhaden. So menhaden or bunker are deep-bodied white baits. So we typically would want something that's white, unless the water is too murky to see white. White, a deeper bodied profile. That's our initial understanding, right? We don't know too much because I don't know what the water quality is, so we can't really narrow it much further than that. So now let's move on to the third step, is what's the location? So we're fishing from the beach, okay? That means we have to cast far. We are fishing rough seas, okay? Rough seas, casting far, and we see the fish busting every now and then, but they're not super jumping out of the water. Okay, those are three important pieces of information to consider. So let's start down the line. So we start with the topwaters. Well, we could cast this far. They are actively feeding on the surface, but there's very high surf, which might make it difficult to fish a topwater. Not the best option, but it could work. So we're going to leave it to the side for now. Swim bait. Okay, you can cast a swim bait very far. Doesn't matter what the wave situation is, because as long as you reel it straight, the tail is going to pulsate like that. So, and then we see them on the surface every now and then, but they're also underneath the schools of bait. So you can fish varying water depths with this. This is a pretty good option. And with the swim bait, you can get a little bit more deeper bodied profile. Okay, this could very well work. Let's consider that. Put it to the side. Let's consider twitch bait. Okay, we have to cast far. You could, but that would mean you'd have to lighten up your setup. And I don't know, these could be 30, 40 pound fish that are blowing up. I don't know if we want to go too light for these fish. And also the rough conditions will make it hard to land a fish on light tackle. So, already hesitant. This could very well match the profile of the bait. Maybe if we use a twitch bait like this one. But again, the rougher seas will make it more difficult to effectively fish a twitch bait, because it'll impact the vertical action. I don't like it. I don't think it's very reliable here. We're going to put the twitch baits aside. Now a plug, okay. A plug could work because we can cast it far. Doesn't matter really what the wave action is, because you're going to reel it straight. They look pretty aggressive, not, you know, busting out of the water, but they're pretty aggressive. So, but this is a little bit different profile. That might be the one caveat, but everything else, action casting wise, could work very well. We'll put this to the side. A jig could very well work. You can cast this thing far. It looks like, you know, a big white jig. Looks like the same profile and color as the Manhattan. That could very well work. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't work. And you also don't really care about the waves when you're fishing with the jig. The jig's action isn't impacted by the waves. Okay, this could work very well. And the spoon. So a spoon would work great because you can cast this thing far. You just reel it straight in, and it has a flash, has a wobble and a flash. Looks like the similar profile of a bunker. Oh, this could work very well. Okay, so we've essentially narrowed it down to 4 potential options. A big swim bait, a big plug, a big spoon, or a big jig. Notice I said big because we have to cast these things far, right? To get them out there, and this is rough conditions, you probably want heavy gear. I've never done this before. If you guys striper fish before, leave a comment down below and see how well I am making my logical progressions. And yeah, we could use a big jig too. So all of those could be viable options. Now we've narrowed it down to a few options. So now the only thing left to do is go out and try them and say, okay, I'm going to try the swim bait today. So we go out there with the swim bait, we get a couple bites, maybe we catch a fish. Okay, wasn't bad. Do I feel confident in it? Maybe. Let's say tomorrow we try the spoon, right? Try big ol' clean, shiny spoon. Bam, we whack them, we crush them, you know, getting them a dozen on the beach. Wow, dude, we crushed them with this thing. You say, okay, well, maybe I should keep using the spoon. But then you say, well, I kind of want to try the top water, right? Something's telling me I need to try the top water. So the next day, the third day, you put the spoon down, and then you pick up the top water. So you get to the beach, 3-foot seas on the beach, you cast the top water, 20 minutes, you hate your life. You save yourself all that hassle and that wasted opportunity if you think beforehand with the checklist that I presented with you guys today. If you do that, I guarantee you will have less days of absolutely no chance of catching fish. You may not have a guarantee, but you will have a good chance of catching a fish, right? I really hope that clarified some of the questions you guys have and confusions you guys may have. If you guys have any other questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. Or if you want, a further discussion, feel free to join a Discord and have a lengthy discussion about a particular question that you have. or if it's a general topic-wide question, could do a video for it in the future. But anyways, I really hope you guys learned a lot from this video. I hope you can better understand the types of lures available out to you and can make your own. Now you can make your own educated decisions about what type of lure you want to use in each situation, so that you can go out. You don't have to ask people what lure they use. You can go and figure it out yourself, right? So anyways, that's gonna be it for us here today. Make sure you drop a big old thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you guys next time.
So you want to be a long fisherman?